Welcome to the Progress Zone podcast, where we help you create real momentum in your mindset, business, health, and life. I'm your host, Jody Donaldson, and every week we'll explore the small, intentional steps that lead to big, lasting growth. This isn't about hype, it's about habits. So let's get started. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Progress Zone. I want to start today with a question. And I'm going to ask you to actually sit with it for a moment before we move on. The question is the life you're living right now the one you actually chose? Or is it the one that just happened? The one that made sense at the time? The one that checked the right boxes? The one that other people looked at and said, you're doing great? Because there's a version of success that looks exactly right from the outside and feels quietly off on the inside. And if you've ever been in that space, this episode is for you. I'm not going to tell you what to do today. I'm just going to sit in this with you for a few minutes, because sometimes the most valuable thing isn't a strategy. It's just knowing that someone else has felt exactly what you're feeling and that it's okay. Here's something I've noticed about how most people end up where they are. It's rarely a grand plan. It's usually momentum. It's one decision that leads to the next, and one opportunity that shows up and we take advantage of it. There's one path seems more practical than the other, so we follow it. One version of success gets celebrated by the people around us, and so we keep pursuing it. And before long, we've built something. We've built a career, a lifestyle, a set of responsibilities and relationships and routines, a version of our life that makes complete sense to everyone around us. And then one day, usually when things are quiet, it's usually late at night or early in the morning before the noise starts, you sit down and feel something that's hard to name. It's not unhappiness exactly, and it's not regret. It's just a quiet sense that something isn't fully aligned, that the life you're living fits the person you were, but it might not fit the person you're becoming. I've had that feeling more than once. And the first time I had it, I did what most people do. I just got busier. I filled up my calendar. I pushed the feeling down and told myself I just needed to work harder. But it came back, and it always comes back, because you can outrun a lot of things in life, but you cannot outrun yourself. Let me describe what this actually looks like in real life, because I want you to be able to recognize it, whether it's in yourself or in someone you care about. It's the Sunday night feeling that doesn't quite go away. My mom used to call it the Sunday night blues. Even when Monday isn't particularly hard, or even when there's nothing objectively wrong, there's just this low hum of dread or flatness or something in between. It's also like hitting a goal and waiting for that feeling that never fully arrives. You've worked for months towards something. You reach it, and for a moment, it feels wonderful. And then it doesn't feel like much at all. And you wonder if you chase the wrong thing, or if something is wrong with you for not feeling more. It's also being busy all the time, but not quite sure what you're busy for. The days are full, the calendar is packed, but at the end of the week, you can't always tell what it was all in service of. It's looking at everything you've built, the career, the lifestyle, the relationships, your routine, and knowing that everything looks fine, while something underneath quietly isn't. And the hardest part isn't the feeling. It's not being able to explain it, because from the outside, everything looks like it's working. So how do you tell someone you're struggling when you can't really point to anything that's actually broken? So most people don't. They just keep going and going and going, and they call it discipline. But a lot of times it's just avoidance. And the difference between the two matters more than most people realize. Here's what I've noticed in my own life and in the people around me. Staying busy is one of the most effective ways to avoid the questions that matter most. Hey, as long as that calendar is full, you don't have to sit with the question of whether it's the right calendar. And as long as the goals are clear, you don't have to ask whether they're actually your goals. And as long as you're making progress, you don't have to slow down long enough to ask, progress toward what exactly? And this is what I call autopilot living. It's not laziness. It's almost the opposite. It's high functioning avoidance, the kind where you're incredibly productive, but not necessarily intentional. I went through a season of this in my own life, where I was checking every box, hitting the numbers, showing up, delivering. And from the outside, everything looked like it was clicking. But on the inside, I had this quiet awareness that I was operating on someone else's script. It's not in a dramatic way, but in that subtle way where you realize that you've been so focused on executing that you forgot to ask whether the plan itself was still right for you. And the moment I got honest about that, things started to shift. Not overnight, and it wasn't dramatic, but in the quiet, steady way that real change actually happens. So what do you do if you recognize yourself in any of this? I want to give you 3 things. Not a complete overhaul, no dramatic life change, just 3 honest starting points. The first is to get honest about what you actually want, not what makes sense, and not what other people expect, not the answer that sounds most responsible or impressive, but what you actually want. And if you haven't thought about that question seriously in a while, it might feel harder to answer than it should. Because when we've been on autopilot for long enough, we lose touch with our own preferences. We know what we're supposed to want, but what we actually want, that takes some excavating. And that's okay. Start there. The second thing is to pay attention to your energy, not your productivity, not your output, but your energy. What parts of your life genuinely light you up when you're in them? And what parts consistently drain you, even when they're going well? That contrast is just data. It's your instincts trying to tell you something. And most of us have been trained to override our instincts in the name of responsibility. But your instincts aren't the enemy of responsibility. They're the compass. And the third thing, and this one takes the most courage, is to be willing to make small intentional corrections. You don't need to blow everything up. You don't need to walk away from what you've built, but to make small, deliberate moves that close the gap between the life you're living and the life that actually fits who you are. Because a small shift in direction, sustained over time, takes you somewhere completely different. That's not a dramatic statement. That's just math. And it's one of the most hopeful things I know. So I'll leave you with this. The goal of the Progress Zone has never just been to do more. It's to build something that's actually worth building. A life that doesn't just look right from the outside, but it feels right when nobody's watching. And if you're sitting with some version of that quiet disconnect right now, I want you to hear something clearly. That feeling isn't ingratitude. It isn't weakness. It isn't a sign that something is wrong with you. It's your instincts telling you that more is available to you and that the version of your life you actually want is still possible, that it's not too late to close that gap. So this week, I want to give you one assignment. Give yourself 1 quiet hour. I know it's going to be hard. No phone, no calendar, no to-do list, no noise, just you. And then it's one question. Is the life I'm building actually the one I want? And listen to whatever comes up, because that's your starting point. It's not a destination. It's just a starting point. And starting points are everything. So folks, just keep showing up, keep doing the work, keep making progress, and I'll see you next time inside the Progress Zone. Thanks for joining me in the Progress Zone. If today's episode gave you a spark, share it with a friend, subscribe, or leave a quick review. And remember, progress isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up. I'm Jody Donaldson, and I'll catch you next time inside the Progress Zone.